Rogue Record.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to Hustle Makes It Happen, a podcast about the grit, determination, and the mindset it takes to become a winner. Success is not an accident. It lives outside your comfort zone, in the trenches where excuses are met by brick walls. So strap in, tighten up, and let's get ready to hustle. What's up, hustlers? Welcome to another episode of Hustle Makes It Happen, the podcast. Before we break off into this show, we're gonna do the little plug. We're gonna break it down real quick. Thank you to everybody that's been watching, subscribing, leaving reviews, giving us hustlers. Keep them coming. Keep doing your job. We're gonna keep doing ours. If you're grabbing onto this content and you love it and you press play, share it with the next person. Right?
That's it, babe.
So that's it. That's all we're doing in that. Oh. Go buy some merch at the store, hustlemakesithappen.com. Before we break off, so we have somebody I've been looking forward to get in here, Miss Tori Achord. What's happening?
What is up?
Welcome to the show. So you were someone that was sent to us via, more than a couple people, I believe. She was, I think 2 or 3 people said you need to get Tori on the show. So you were someone that was sent our way.
Yeah, and look, we love having, we try to say in every show, like if you know a hustler, and it's in everybody's questionnaire that comes on the show, but we say it on air all the time. Like if you know somebody that make a good hustler, send them to us, and we'll do the homework, we'll dig out, we'll dig into them, we'll reach out and get a hold of them. And you came recommended by a couple of different people, so that's paying off. So you guys continue to do that. Please continue to send us hustlers. The format of the show is we just want to talk about what has led you to success, what's made you a winner in your own little niche. We believe that everybody can have the tools that are needed to be successful in whatever they want to be successful in if they're willing to put in the work to go get it. And you've obviously made an impact on some people, and you've proven that you have those traits, and we want to learn what you do and what kind of things you go through every day that make you a winner in your space. We believe those traits are universal, whether you're an athlete or whether you're a coach or whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a stay-at-home mom that just does a jam-up job raising her kids. We feel like these traits are universal. So we want you to explain the things that you do that make you successful to our audience and to us. We do this for us. We're selfish. It's really for us.
Hey, we just said that not too long ago. It is true. But so before we break off and dig in between the ears, tell a little bit about yourself, just so our audience gets a little snapshot of who Tori is.
Well, first, I'm like smiling so big because when you first messaged me, I remember actually like freezing and being like, what? Why in the world would they want me to come and speak? And then, you say a couple of people, and like I was telling y'all earlier on the way here, someone had said, yeah, I had mentioned you. And I thought, oh my God, a couple, like more than one person mentioned me. And it's just so I don't even know. I can't even explain that feeling just for other people to, because sometimes when you are in the hustle and the grit and you're doing it for, you or for the bigger picture or for your bigger vision, you don't ever really think like, is anyone really noticing or anything? So that is just so, I don't know, makes my heart skip a beat. But so Tori here. You want me to just talk a little bit about who I am?
Yeah,
okay, so I'm a health and wellness coach. I'm a mom of 2, pregnant with number 3. We do surprise genders, so we're either going to have 3 weddings to pay for, or my husband's finally going to get a boy. We'll see in April. But so I, by trade, was a speech therapist before I started doing this full time. I played college softball. So athlete, when you mentioned athletes, I thought, yep, that's me. I've played my entire life. And then when going into school and going into college, I honestly thought, I was like, man, I got to do something that when I get out, like I can always stand on my own 2 feet, like I actually made a post about it the other day. I was like, unbiased opinion. I have never felt like that tug to be a stay-at-home mom. I've always wanted to be the mom that like shows my kids and my girls that like as I sit in a room full of men. But I wanted to like show that, like women have empowering jobs too. Like we're important as well. And so, yeah, I became a speech therapist, got out of school, and I got really lucky and got right into a rehab director position as well. So speech therapist in a nursing home, rehab director, you're working 40 plus hours, but at the time, I mean, it just felt so good, like you just being there all the time and working a lot. And when we had our first daughter and I had to start like missing holidays a little bit and stuff, it didn't bother me as much then because again, I felt like I was showing her that women have important jobs too. Like we're important. We worked Monday through Friday in healthcare. If any healthcare listeners are listening, they know rain, sleet, snow, doesn't matter. Hurricane, doesn't matter. You got to be there, And then we had our second baby and it just kind of all changed for me. And I was fortunate that I was not the type of person that my postpartum weight just fell off. I thought I would be because I was a college athlete. I mean, surely I'm gonna, my body's going to remember what to do. I'm going to jump back, all the things. And I was a runner. The weight did not come off. And I also, at the time, was like, I'm going to breastfeed because they say the weight falls off then too. Not for me. That's not at all how it happened. And so this is just kind of how I got into Beachbody, which I'll insert a plug here. We actually are changing our name. We're not going to be Beachbody anymore. Starting next year, it's going to be Body. Just because so many people hear the word Beachbody and assume that it's about having that beach body and having that perfect body, and it's not at all, right? Like when it comes to health and wellness, it's truly just about being happy within yourself, being happy on your journey and loving what you do. So anyways, I was struggling postpartum. Long story short, I saw a friend, an old softball player actually. She was postpartum too, losing weight. And I'm like, what are you doing? And long story short, so I started doing it. And I had a stranger tell me, you should coach. You would be really good at this. And I'm like, no way. I work 40 plus hours. I'm exclusively pumping to feed my baby. My husband is actually where the hustle probably comes from, the entrepreneur stuff comes from, because so I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs. That's not at all what I was raised seeing. Like what I was raised seeing is you get a good job, you make your way up that totem pole, get to the highest paying position you can, and you work 9 to 5 and you work holidays. And that's what I thought success was.
That's what you were bred up thinking.
Yeah. That was success, In the meantime though, my husband, gosh, he was working for FedEx, starting to kind of get into rentals, cutting grass. I mean,
he was grinding,
yeah. all the jobs, right? And I just supported him and went with it. So anyways, she kept saying, she was like, you would be so good at this. Like you could reach so many people. And I'm just like, there's just no way. Like, I don't have the time. Right? That's what we all say. We all think like we don't have the time.
I want to talk about that in just a minute.
Yeah. But I was reading a book one time and it was like, time is the fairest resource of all.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the same 24 hours.
Same 24 hours.
Everybody. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, they got the same 24 we got.
Yeah. I actually have a sign in my office and it says, someone busier than you is working harder right now.
Yeah.
And that's just my constant reminder.
Time is relative to the user. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, it's all the time.
I'm right now in the Louisiana National Guard, and I've kind of worked myself into a position where I'm in a training role now. So I train officer candidates at the Officer Candidate School for Louisiana National Guard. I'm like the senior trainer, the platoon trainer there. And we had some kids that they have to pass a 4-mile run in 36 minutes to meet the criteria for the course. It's not hard. It's 9-minute miles. It's not difficult. But people they show up and they're not.
Speak for yourself.
I was thinking, I was like, some people are probably like, this guy's insane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those are the standards though. And they knew that when they got there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So really, if you run 4 miles a week for a couple of months, you're going to get sub 9-minute miles. It just takes work. And, these are younger kids. They're, average age is probably 25, 26. I think in our class, I think it's 26 in the current class. Typically, it's a little bit lower than that. But several of them failed. We give them diagnostics every month, and they're failing the diagnostics. I'm like, guys, what in the world is going on? Like, why are you not passing this? And they're like, well, we just don't have time to run. And I'm like, stop. Like I work 2 jobs, 3 really, if you want to count the podcast as a job. I got 3 jobs. I got a 2-year-old son. I got a wife. I go to church every Sunday. Like I still try to make time to hunt, but I still get up every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to the gym for an hour, right? Don't go to the gym. Wake up and go. Like you're not going to convince me that you're working 120 hours a week. You know what I mean? I know you're not. You're 26. You're in school.
Right.
I'm not saying that people don't have time conflicts, but by and large, people don't manage their time well, and I think that's a huge inhibitor.
Well,
to
and
success.
the big thing that I always remind myself is, it's not that you didn't have time for it that day. It's just it wasn't a priority for you.
That's right.
You know, because if it's a priority, you're going to make it happen. And definitely like with running, when I trained for the half marathon, I decided last year at this time, actually, I decided I was going to do a half marathon. It had been on my bucket list. I just wanted to do it. But after my first baby, didn't have the time. And honestly, it was a young teenager had died in a car accident close to our home while we were running. Well, and so I ran around our subdivision all the time. And it was in that moment that I was like, you know what? We're actually not guaranteed time. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. I was like, I've been saying I wanted to do a half marathon. I literally went and signed up that afternoon. And some of my friends laughed because after the fact, I was like, whoa, I didn't think about all the time I was going to have to put in training for it. And I still remember the first time I ran 10 miles and I came in and I told Brendan, my husband, I was like, wow, that was a little bit, that was tough. And he was like, well, what did you think it was going to be? I was like, I don't know. I mean, I've ran 6 miles before. I thought, what's another 4? And he was like, another 4. And I was like, yeah, I guess so.
I need to ask you a question just because, did you enjoy your half marathon?
Oh, I loved every second of it. But
God.
I'll tell you, it was freezing.
I hated every bit of it.
Okay, well, I guess let me explain why. And I realized after my half marathon this.
Nick Torito at Area Home Lending, Louisiana's top choice for mortgages. If you're looking to buy, build, or refinance, they have you covered. Don't get fooled by one of those online or out-of-state banks. Nick and Area Home Lending are Louisiana-based and lend in all of Louisiana. From Lake Charles to Lafayette or all of Baton Rouge to New Orleans. If it's in the state, Nick and his team are local experts and ready to help. Your home is one of the biggest decisions and investments you will make in your life. With trust, commitment, and care, Nick will walk you through the process, step by step, making the hardest decision easy and ensuring the process is as simple and painless as possible. And with Nick, you'll find out that you're not only just another transaction or number on the list. He's invested in you and you become family with his goal to create a relationship that will always be there. Area Home Lending has access to the best loan programs too, and with the lowest rate and fees, all while delivering exceptional customer service. Please give him a call today at 225-663-2500 or visit him on the web at www.areahomelending.com. I guarantee you, he will take great care of you. Nick Torito and Area Home Lending, a proud sponsor of Hustle Makes It Happen, the podcast.
In some ways, I think I'm a mindset junkie in the fact that I've heard from my family like that we have like mental health issues in our family. And so I've always just wanted to like beat that, you know, like they say like that it's, you know, it's always genetic and it's always passed on. I'm like, I know, but like, I just want to beat it. So for me, the half marathon, like it was so mental, you know, and it's a big mental thing. And so it was funny. I, again, made a post about it the other day because I hate the cold weather. Like, I'm just not built for it. That's why I live in Louisiana, right? And I remember the first time I had to practice running, you know, I was, you know, training or whatever, and it was cold. I thought, this is miserable. And I felt God say, did you think I was going to make it easy?
Yeah. That's
and in that moment too, I felt like, okay, that's why I'm doing this, because I'm doing this and it's going to be freaking hard. But I'm going to show up every day. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the hard so that others can see that if I can do this, like you can do whatever hard you're faced into. That was literally like my mindset the entire time I trained. And I knew, I was like, man, I can't remember if I told Brendan or not, but I came back from that run and I thought, it's going to be freezing. The day I run, it's going to be so freaking cold. I just know it. And so the day that night before my run, I had a couple of friends who are runners that ran half marathons and all that. and they were like, oh, I hate that this is your first one. Like, this is the worst weather conditions to run in. And in my head, I was just like smiling. I was like, no, I knew, like I was prepared for it to be hard. You know what I mean? It's like, but it was almost like that much more rewarding that it was like the big joke is like halfway through the half marathon, I actually thought I was like having a stroke. The SLP in me was like diagnosing myself because my face, this side of my face, like started to go like I was like, I can't feel it. But like, that's how cold it was. And like the wind is just hitting you. But so anyways, that's just one of the hard stories. But yeah, it was insane.
I didn't train one day.
And you went out and ran one?
Yep.
That's probably why you hated it so much.
I didn't train. So my brain, because someone told me that my fitness couldn't translate to the running world, but that their fitness of running could translate into my world, which was CrossFit.
Right.
And I said, I won't train one day.
And so you're, yeah.
So my brain was opposite, right? Because yours was like, I'm going to go out there and like do something hard. Mine was like, somebody's telling me that I can't do this. And I'm just going to prove them wrong. And I did. I went out there and I ran. I did not stop. The only time I stopped was to pee in a porta potty twice. That was it. Went in, ran, got in, ran out, and kept running.
Yeah.
And I hated every step of it, every single step. But when I crossed the finish line, I had a very emotional moment.
Oh, yeah.
Like knowing that 2 hours and minute, whatever it was, like was done. And I was like emotional, like visibly emotional. I was like, it wasn't the runner high that everybody like explains that like, you know, mine was like just this emotional dump. Like I did it, screw you. Like I proved myself and them that I could do it.
Yeah. For sure.
So you were bred in a family of traditionalist type mentality.
Oh, I think that's a very good way to put it. Yes. Right? And so like, and my mom, she's stay-at-home mom, you know, she, when we were growing up, she did like in-home daycare. So she watched some kids before school and after school. And, my dad, he worked, you know, like, and he definitely put that work ethic in me of like, you work hard for things and that's what you want. And so I just had that mentality of like, I'm going to work really hard and, you know, stand on my own 2 feet and all that kind of stuff. And so when the idea of doing a side hustle, you could say, came about, I was just like, no, there's no way. Like, I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. Not to mention, I was like, I mean, as an SLP, I was doing very well, you know, especially with it being the rehab director and stuff. So I also had this thought of like, I didn't need the extra income. Like, we were fine, you know, that kind of thing. And so I actually nudged it off for a year and a half. I said no to the opportunity for a year and a half, which is like looking back, some people are like, do you beat yourself up over that? And I'm like, no, it just made my story. Like, that's my story. And I get to tell it and share it to other people of like, hey, if you feel something or if someone sees something and you don't just close that door just because you think maybe you can't or you don't have the time for it, you know?
Were you cognizant during the time? Because look, you had a pretty lucrative career at that moment, right? And a lot of people would say, and I would say a large portion of the population would say that, you know, you're set, you have a good job, you get paid well, you have benefits, you have all these things, but something else was tugging at you because you didn't jump to leave that career to go to Beachbody to know that you're going to be at the pinnacle where you are today with your followers and your team and the things you built. You can want that, but you're not that at that time.
Yeah, 1,000%. So, and it's, so year and a half of saying no to the opportunity, right? And every year, every summer, there's an annual conference. Well, the big joke is the year before they had asked me, so like I had started Beachbody in January, and that summer, it was literally in New Orleans. You know, I mean, 45 minutes, it's our backyard. And I said no. I was like, no, don't have time. Well, the following year rolls around, and they asked again, like some girls that were like on the team that I was on, they were like, you should really come. And it was 1,000% that, you know, I just was like, this can't, again, like unbiased opinion, but I'm like, this can't be it. Like, this cannot be what the life that God has set for me, that I'm going to just get up early, get my kid ready for school, clock in, wait to clock out, come home, cook dinner, clean a dirty diaper, like this cannot be it, And so Brennan, my husband's a hunter, and I did not grow up in a hunting family. And people are like, well, you knew what you were marrying. I'm like, no, he tricked me. And we've laughed about this before, but
I tricked my wife too.
Yeah,
I didn't hunt for like 2 years while we were dating, and then as soon as we got married, I'm like, I'm going to the woods, baby, later.
Literally the same story. Y'all would be best friends. That's exactly what happened. I was out of town, so like I lived in Lafayette getting my master's. So for 2 years, he came to Lafayette on the weekends. Like we got married in November. And then I think the next month he went hunting, and I was just like,
got that hook in you.
Yeah.
We did the same. We got married. My wife said, I'm setting our wedding date for November 30th. I'm like, I go to the camp every weekend, every Thanksgiving weekend. I'm in the woods for like a week. I got married on November 30th though. So
yeah. Oh, see, he didn't even try to do that. November 14th. Today's our wedding anniversary.
Well, happy anniversary.
Yeah, 8 years married. So I was kind of like, you know what? Dang it. I deserve to go somewhere. I'm going to leave our baby at home. At the time, Adeline might have been one and a half. She was making 2 that August. And so I went, and I think in my head, I was also going maybe a little bit out of curiosity too. But at the time also, I was just like, you know what? This literally cannot be it. Like I'm going to go work out. I'm going to be in a stadium full of strangers. I knew one person there. I actually almost backed out. I laugh sometimes when I think of the story because I was about to get on the plane and I was like, what am I doing? Like this, no. Okay. And I literally started calculating how much money I would lose if I just went home. I was like, well, the plane ticket was this much. I paid this much for the hotel. Maybe I just go ahead and go back home now. And my mother-in-law had actually sent me a message, and it was just something along the lines of like, I'm so proud of you for doing this. And it like tugged. And I was like, okay, I'm going. And it was while I was there at that event that I had no idea like that my eyes were about to be open to this, and people were getting on this stage and telling their stories of their lives being changed in more ways than one. Like people were getting on there talking about their fitness life, their health being changed, like going from not being able to get off a couch for their kids to then running, playing soccer. And that moved me big time because I just thought, oh my God, I couldn't imagine not knowing when my last day might be because my health is not where it should be, or, and then there were coaches getting on stage talking about their lives being changed from the teams that they had built in the community. Yeah. And so it was just so many different things coming at me. And I was like, and I just felt the tug. I remember I even told Brennan, I was like, man, I really feel like God's telling me I need to do this. Like I need to try. Like I got to give it a try.
Katie Benton Thompson is your local trusted realtor. Born and bred in real estate as a third-generation realtor, she deals with developments from lots and to houses. Katie was raised building the parish of Livingston. Her family roots have grown this parish for the last 30 years. This environment has educated Katie in all areas of real estate. I can tell you from personal experience, Katie Benton Thompson is a hustler in every way. She is constantly digging her heels in to give her clients the best buying or selling experience she can. Give Mandy Benton Realty Group a call and ask for Katie Benton Thompson at 225-953-0677. Isn't it an amazing feeling though?
Oh gosh, yes.
My story is a little different because of just the genre and realm, but health and wellness was obviously attached to mine, and some of the beyond my kids and my wife and some of the things I've accomplished, some of the best memories and moments I've had in my lifetime is people looking at me and say, because of something that you built or you did, my life, my health, my wellness, my mental capacity, it's better. Yeah. And I'm like, nobody can ever take that from me. And I'm like, it's something that will sit very near and dear to my heart. Yeah. So I get it.
Oh, it makes me like, it might be the pregnancy, but it makes me want to tear up because like 1,000%. But what's so crazy is that summer when I said yes, that I needed to do this, I honestly had no clue what God had in store. I like to joke that like that summer I came home and I had on like, at the time I had like 2 girls that were kind of on my team that I thought they would run with me. Like we should do this. And I just went home or came back home and was like, I always joke, I'm like, yo, I felt like it's so cheesy, but I felt like I had this invisible cape on of like, we need to save the world. Like, we need to help people. Like, people need help, and we've got to rip the Band-Aid of being fearful, because that was the big thing for me too, is I think the whole time when my upline coach was telling me, like, you should do this, I was like, no, like, I'm not going to be that person to post on social media, you know, because social media has changed a lot in the last 4.5 years. Now it's like, that's where it's at. But 4.5 years ago, people weren't just like posting things. And so there was this big fear for me that, oh my gosh, I'm going to be that girl that they avoid in Walmart. Like, people are going to be like, turning aisles. And I didn't want to be that. But then it was like, I went to that conference and I thought, you know what? Screw it if I'm that person, because for every one person that I help, it's worth the 10 people that run from me in Walmart, you know, because of that exact moment right there of like getting that opportunity to have that one person say, you made a difference in their life.
I love that, because it's taking out, it's not listening to the noise. And like you just said, and you're obviously well aware of it, because I was aware of it too. Like, I would post a lot of lifting videos and a lot of CrossFit videos, and you probably obviously do the same on yours. Yeah. And yes, there's probably 10 people that see you in Walmart and go, oh shit, Tori's going to ask me to be on her team. I'm not going around here. Let's go to the next aisle. Yeah. And vice versa. They would see me and they'd be like, Chase is going to talk about CrossFit today. And when am I coming to his gym to work out? And it's okay. Yes, you don't want to be around me because of that, but you're aware of it. You know it, but you know that in the end, it's bettering. It's doing more better than somebody sitting there going, she's going to ask me to come work out and be on her team. Okay. And you don't want to do it. That's fine.
Yeah. I tell my, my new coaches that come and I mentor, I'm like, the biggest thing you have to do is rip that Band-Aid of fear. And you also have to remember too, it's like when you have that Band-Aid of fear on, and this goes for honestly any business or any entrepreneur, and you're like hesitant or scared to share, you're doing a disservice to everyone else. And you're making it about you, right? Like, I was making it about me being scared to share my, postpartum journey or share what I had found. I always like to think of it like this too. It's like, we find, you find a new Starbucks coffee and you're quick to share about it, new mascara, whatever, you'll share about it. But you share you find something like this and you're like nervous, and it's like, why? It's the same thing, not everyone's going to love it, but for the people who do, it's just like, so the funny thing is 4.5 years in, I tell my coaches too, I'm like, that still comes up. Like, I say it's normal for entrepreneurs, like the imposter syndrome, like, or this is too good to be true, or am I really deserving of this? I think those but that's where obviously mindset and having a strong mindset come in.
Well, that's why I like talking about this, because like I personally struggle with us doing the podcast and imposter syndrome big time. And it's because I've had people that I've known for a long time, like people that I've been associated with, that'll reach out to me and say, man, I heard you guys talking about X, Y, and Z on the podcast. Like, I really appreciate that. Like, it taught me a lot. I had a friend that I haven't seen in a while. My wife and I went and had dinner at their house a couple of weeks ago. And he's like, either him or his wife, I don't remember which one, but one of them said, oh man, like it's really cool to have a power couple in the house. Or we've been wanting to talk to a power couple about this. And I was like, hold on, bro. Like, I'm not even close to a power couple. But like, since we started doing the podcast, like I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about some of the things that we talk about, right? And I said at the beginning of the show, we do this to learn from people like you just as much as we do it to get the content out to other people. But whenever you start something like this, especially something that's primarily driven by social media, you fall into that social media trap where people only see the really good parts of everything, right? And it does, at least for me, it makes me feel like an imposter, like I'm acting like something I'm not. And I share the same fear that other people see that. They see that, especially people that have known me for a long time. I'm afraid to post on social media and share things sometimes because I feel like those people are going to be the ones to say, well, who is he to talk about that? And I know you and I talked about this over the phone whenever I was on deployment, whenever we were talking about starting the podcast, and we said that there are going to be people that are out there like that. But what really makes the difference and what really drowns all of that out is whenever that person calls you and says, hey, because of something I saw on your podcast, happened with a good friend of mine, he called and said, because of some of the things that y'all talked about in one of your podcast episodes, I've started to see a therapist and I've started to prioritize my family a little bit more than my work. And I've started trying to do things that are bringing fulfillment in my life.
Yeah.
And I've been so much happier just because of something like, and that drowns everything else out.
It almost makes me think too, like, you know, maybe like normalizing imposter syndrome a little bit too. It's like, if you start to feel that imposter syndrome, like, know you're onto something good.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. That literally, I used to say that in college, like when we had to do different things, and I would say something so confident, and my roommate would be like, is that all true? That sounded so confident. I was like, no, but just fake it till you make it. It's going to be fine.
I think listening to kind of the story that you're telling right now, so traditional family, you know, good job, educated, you're doing your thing, and then you took a trip on a plane or a bus or a boat. I don't know how you got there, but you got there, and you go to this convention, and you walk in, and there's people in a room that are so like-minded like you that you didn't realize it, and then you're starting to hear their stories and their vulnerability and all these things that are happening. And look, let's just be honest. Everybody in this room, how many times in your lifetime in this state have you sat in a room and just talked about like actual true vulnerabilities in life? It's very seldom that we just sit in a room and talk about like, what has been in your way in life? How did you overcome it? Like, what kind of serious conversations have you had like that in the last, I don't know how old you are, but like for me, 40 years. I mean, until this podcast, not a lot.
Yeah. I
right?
mean, and that's why another reason why I'm honestly just so grateful for what I do now, because I don't even want to think about where I would be if I wouldn't have started this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't talk about it. People don't. People are scared to talk about it.
They are.
You
They're
know?
Stigmatized.
Yeah. And so that's something that I feel like I try to really take pride in, is like, in my, if anyone listening follows me regularly, they know, like, I try to be very transparent 24/7, because like you can really get caught up on people's highlight reels. And you think like, wow, they got it all together. They got the perfect marriage, the perfect house, the perfect
Right.
And it's like, no, I carry my kids out of Walmart kicking and screaming all the time too. You know, like my husband and I have disagreements, but we work through them. We communicate. So I always just try to be super transparent, because you got to be careful. You know, you'll see all that. And, but it's so, the funny, you talk about being in a room, of people that are like-minded, or like people that actually like chase their goals. But when they start telling their stories, and you realize like, man, they're
That's
just
me too.
normal
We're all the
humans.
same. Yeah.
When I actually decided to do this full time, that was part of the part of the post that I made was, if I'm being very honest, I honestly always thought like those people that you see super successful, like with the big businesses and stuff, I didn't look at it in a bad way, but I honestly always just thought like, oh, well, like their grandparents must have done something and it was handed down to them, right? Like that's honestly what I always thought. I thought success was like passed down from generations to generations.
Generational wealth.
Yes, especially when it came to businesses. Again, like that's what I assumed. And so I thank God every day for sending me my husband, because, you know, he's the one who has the entrepreneur in him, to where he's like, well, we could do this or we could do that. And so, but it's not, you know, it's not passed down. We get to build what we want to build in this life.
Your husband, and then also sitting in front of a room of people like-minded, can say that they maybe surfaced a trait of kind of fearlessness in you.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
You know, because some things, they sit below the surface because of how you've been raised and how your values are put out.
I mean, especially being like a college athlete, like 4.0 student, like that fear of failure is very real. You know, like, well, what if I try this and I fall on my face? Well, now I'm like, so what if you do? You stand back up and you try again, or you try something new.
We
talked about that in the last episode about being afraid to fail.
Yeah, that's huge.
It's weird for people that are high achievers. Like I was like that all through school, right? Like I used to not. I'm learning to get over it, right? Through this podcast journey. I think this has been so good for like even my own mental growth, right? Didn't talk about all this kind of stuff, but I was very bad about not doing something if I didn't think I was gonna either like it, not even be successful. I wanted to be the best at it.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't going to be the best at something, I wouldn't even try it. I wouldn't do it, which kept me from not doing very much.
Yeah, I mean, And
Because very
again, I
rarely
think
do you
that's
just walk
something
into
that a
something
lot
to be
of
the
people
best
struggle
at.
with, especially high achievers.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
You know?
where does your skill set grow then?
Well, it's just like I said in the last episode. I was always rewarded for doing good, right? I was rewarded for good grades.
Mm-hmm.
I was rewarded for performing well. If I perform well, it's like a dog. Yeah, I was getting a little treat
Yeah.
every time
So
I did well.
so why go after the things you're not going to perform well?
That's right.
Right,
That's exactly
yeah.
right. And it's just this conditioned response from the time you're, I don't know, when do you start excelling at school? Like when you're second grade, third grade, you start kind of standing apart from people.
Most
You
people
know?
kindergarten,
Not-
but
not
if
me,
you didn't
not
do it
me.
then. I'm just kidding. You said not me.
Not me.
But I mean, if you're one of those people that are in that same kind of groove,
Yeah.
like you've been kind of a high performing individual, you get conditioned to be rewarded to that, and there's no point in going to do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in that trap because whenever I graduated from college, I took a little job right out of college. It was a good job, but then got presented with an opportunity to go work for a huge, like the best company in this area to work for, and went to work for them for 10 years. And was still in that same thing. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to perform well. I'm going to try to be a top performer, and I'm going to get rewarded for it. So I was climbing the ladder, boom, 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 until, we started our business in 2020. And I had flirted with the idea of starting businesses before. I was actually, whenever Chase and I met, it was in 2019 at Exxon, Baton Rouge, working on an emergency shutdown that we had to do. And I had, just prior to that, like tried my first experience at starting a business, and it was going dismally. Like it was terrible. It never had a chance, but at least I was kind of tipping my toe in that water. And that's Chase and I started talking about that. He was in land development, and I was doing some stuff in construction project management, or trying to. And we kind of hit it off there. And I think it was really him that kind of brought the entrepreneurial drive that was kind of hidden under the surface, like he was talking about. Like I think it was always there, and the curiosity was always there. But I was raised and conditioned to just do good things.
Yeah.
Like stay in line and just try to outperform everyone.
Well, you were conditioned of taking more of the safer route.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's so common.
Well, and I think something else.
Think about how many people sat in that seat. She's one of them. Think about Queen of Sparta. Think about Megan Goudot. Like, think about all the people we're talking about. They were all conditioned, but then had this underlying urge and itch.
Well, and sometimes you have that itch and you think like, I know when I first started running with it too, a little bit of me struggled with like, but I shouldn't want more.
Same thing.
That's
Right.
another thing
100%.
that I think people struggle. It's like we should be happy with what we have. We should be grateful for what we have. The
'Cause
roof
people told
over
you that
our
your whole
heads.
life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's probably exactly where it came
That's
from.
exactly
Thank
where
you
it
for
came
that
from.
actual clear
Yeah.
moment just now, because but it's just like there's nothing wrong with wanting more, because it's sometimes like the more you have, the more you get to bless others. And it's like if more good people had more good to bless others, it's just like the world, gosh, and so I think that's another thing too that like kind of trips people up, is they just think like, well, I shouldn't go after that because that seems selfish. But it's like, man, no, it's selfish to hold back. It's selfish to like feel that tug and feel that itch and like not at least try or not at least do it.
Well, a lot of people look at taking risks like that, and especially stepping out like in the social media world like you did, people look at that as being boastful or being not being humble, not being
with that
arrogant.
a lot too, because I didn't want, you know what I'm saying? Like I was fearful, and going through high school and stuff. I mean, I was like friends with everyone in the sense of like, I didn't want to give someone a reason not to like me. I just wanted to be friends with everyone. Like I didn't want to, upset anyone or anything like that. And so even, especially like I said, it was a little different 4.5 years ago, stepping out on social media, it's like, oh gosh, well, like you don't want to rub people the wrong way, or you don't want people to think you're bragging. And it's just like, even that, like getting over that. But the funny thing is when I started all this and really started hitting the ground running, like I never really intended to like build like a business or like become an entrepreneur. It was just that feel good feeling of like helping one person. And it just kind of just kept going. And then before you knew it, I was like getting up at the crack of dawn to work before my family got up, staying up late, even once we put them to bed, and kind of getting a routine of like, okay, my husband does, bath and bed on Tuesday nights, so I can do a team call and help mentor other people. And it was honestly just like this ripple effect of like wanting to do more, wanting to help more. And then it was like the true business side was like opened up of like how much this really, because so many people, I think, well, like for me, I just know like when I started, I actually told my upline coach, I was like, I'll never leave my job though. Like insert beach body disclaimer, everyone, is guaranteed what you work for basically. But I was just like, I worked my butt off for that degree. Like I studied hard. I paid a lot of money in student loans. Like I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life. And then I was like, I definitely learned, never say never, because God's a funny man and you might eat those words. And that's definitely what I did.
I ate them.
Yeah. Well,
I said I'd never work in the plants. Yeah. Ever.
And there you
go.
Then
I did it for 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but I just got to a point to where I was like, I felt like a pull, a tug again, that I was like, man, but if I was doing this full time, I could do more. I could help more. I could, reach more people. And so it's just crazy how it's all developed, I guess you could say, or like grown, because again, when I came home from that conference, I really just, one of my big goals was like, man, I want to help someone lose 100 pounds. Like I want to be a part of someone's journey like that. Like just to,
I know that feeling.
Like, and I don't need the spotlight of it. Like I'll be in the shadow, like just to help someone.
Just be a part of that journey.
Yeah. Like it's just so rewarding.
Katie Benton Thompson is your local trusted realtor. Born and bred in real estate as a third-generation realtor, she deals with developments from lots and to houses. Katie was raised building the parish of Livingston. Her family roots have grown this parish for the last 30 years. This environment has educated Katie in all areas of real estate. I can tell you from personal experience, Katie Benton Thompson is a hustler in every way. She is constantly digging her heels in to give her clients the best buying or selling experience she can. Give Mandy Benton Realty Group a call and ask for Katie Benton Thompson at 225-953-0677. If you've never been a part of something like that, when someone takes back a hold of their life, because it's not just their weight, it's their life.
It's their life.
We're not talking about a scale and a number.
100%. It's their happiness, their health, all of it.
It's a lot. One of my best friends today, he's probably one of the bigger like attachments of weight loss, but journey as a person that I've ever been attached to. He walked in the gym at 3:30, and he walks around today like 210, 215. Yeah. And is quite the athlete.
Yeah. And it's not, like you say too, it's not even just like about the scale or, what I've learned a lot in the last like year and a half is I feel like the health and wellness was the door that God opened for me, but it's so much more than that. Like the community that we've grown, like the friends that I've made through this business, and just having, a big one for this year I just keep going back on it, is like this community that has been created even just to like pray for others, there's been times where we've went through some hard stuff this year. We lost a pregnancy in April, and I felt like this weird sense of peace though, because of the amount of women that I had there, like praying for me, lifting me up, like telling me it's gonna be okay. And, I don't know how I would have handled that 4.5 years ago, not having that room of people there with you,
It's a very hard thing for a woman to go through, but that shows the support system that you have to help build what you've got, your husband and your family or whoever's been on this journey to help you get there. But it also shows the culture that you've built on your team.
Yeah.
Right.
Between I love our team.
Your downlines and then their downlines and their downlines, that to show the support all the way up and then laterally across the board is probably a really great feeling to see that you're a part of building that.
100%. This year alone, we've been doing a lot more. I don't know what in the world. I always try to, so I'm also the type of person, like, it's probably the high achiever in me. It's like you achieve something and it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? You just kind of keep going.
It's just a ladder. You got to climb it.
Yes. Yeah. I've been trying to do a lot better this year of like stopping, appreciating the hard work that I put in, giving myself some credit, because I'm very bad about that too. She's
enjoying the moments. So,
look, this is a theme that we talk about on the show a lot, which is, I'm glad you brought it up, because we talk about, Chase always asks, this is his can question, like, is success a milestone for you? Is it an end journey, or is it the feeling that you have? Like, what is success to you, right? And answer differs for a lot of people. For me, like we just talked about, it's always kind of been achieve a goal, move on to the next one. Achieve a goal, move on to the next one. There's some good and bad to that because I think it keeps you kind of goal-oriented and driving, but there's no end. Like you're never satisfied. And then there's other people that are just kind of enjoying the motion and kind of going through life, and they're still working towards some unknown goal, but they're enjoying the process a lot more. There's people that get satisfaction out of little small wins and little bite-sized chunks of success, and there's other people that find satisfaction in riding the waves of life and entrepreneurship and business or whatever.
Well, that's what's so funny is I tell my clients, I'm like, we celebrate every win. Like if you worked out today, that's a freaking win. Celebrate it. You lose 2 pounds, we celebrate that. But then this year, like when I look back over all the things from this year, it just like takes my breath away for the things that like my team's accomplished, the things that I've done. And I mean, I still remember like we hit the highest rank possible in our company. We're the only team so far to do it this year. And looking back at that moment, I'm like, did I stop? Did I stop and really appreciate how hard we had worked? I mean, I think I did for 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? But the good thing is I always, something that I do, I journal a lot now, which I said I would never be a journaler because who has time for that? Who has time to take time to write down?
Yep, look at you now.
Yeah, exactly. But I started doing it, and it's so good too. And I feel like for high achievers especially is like take the time. Like, so probably about a couple weeks ago, I like took the time and I actually like wrote down all the good that's happened this year. And it just like really like puts you in the moment and reminds you of like, one, your hard work and your hustle, all the growth, but like all the blessings. And so that's been really helpful too, for sure.
I'll tell you one thing that I really like, 2 things that I really like about the business that you're in. It's like 2 things that I admire about that business is, number one, Chase already kind of alluded to this, like you build your own circle, right? And we talk all the time about how important having a circle of people that you can depend on and bounce ideas off of and have a group of people to hold you accountable for things. Like that is massively important for anybody in life. And anybody that doesn't have a circle,
you
got to find one. This lone wolf mentality that I think was taught to a lot of us is not the way, especially
definitely not.
Especially for men. I know, you're not a man, very obviously, but for men, it's a thing that I think has been taught to us as men. Like you have to be the lone wolf. You have to be the strongest one on the hill. But man, that's so untrue. Like you have to build a circle of people around you.
1,000%. And it goes back to the whole, when I hear building a circle, I think back to like the whole having the fear of things because of others might judge you or whatever. And, I tell a lot of my team too, I'm like, listen, if they're not clapping for you when you achieve something, those aren't your people.
That's right.
That's not your circle. I'm like, and your circle's out there. Your people are out there. It's just being brave enough to find them, right? Or create them or create that culture.
I mean, I'm to the point now, if they're not even in my circle, if you're doing good, man, I'm sitting in the back.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't even see why a lot of people these days, them people make a decision. I may not agree with it, but if you're doing good, whether I agree with it and you're achieving some sorts of success or reaching goals that you want, I'm in the corner clapping for you.
Well, yeah. And
I don't understand why we live in that. And a lot of people live in that.
A lot of people live in that like competitor mindset, and it's like, no, not at all. Like when I see another woman doing something good, I'm like clapping for her and I'm thanking her because she's showing me what's possible, right? Like
that goes into the other point. I told you it was 2 things that I admire about that line of work. The other is that I think health and wellness in general, they're like those 2 things. It's like 2 words that encompass like every good thing about life. You know what I mean? And it's really kind of hard to narrow it down to a category, but if you focus on your health and your happiness, like just focus on those 2 things and your entire life is going to be more fulfilling. Like I've kind of been trying to, this is actually the first time I've said this on air, but I think you and I may have talked about it. I'm trying to formulate like what is the message that I want to send to people, right? Because I don't want to be an imposter. So I want to actually have an authentic message. And for me, it's been the 3 Fs. And I've learned this over the last 2 years, right? It's the 3 Fs. It's faith, fitness, and fulfillment. So if you're not doing something that is either strengthening your faith, strengthening your body, or making you feel more fulfilled in life, then maybe you shouldn't be doing it, right? Just focus on the 3 F's and you're going to be happier. That's what I've done over the last 2 years that I think has drastically changed my life, right? Yeah. The 3 F's. That I'm trying to formulate it into something I can put on a poster.
Yeah.
There you go. I like it. You've been thinking about that?
Yeah.
I like it.
We haven't talked about this?
You should make it a sticker.
Yeah, the 3 F's.
So we're talking about all the things, the great culture, the trials and tribulations that you've been through, but with that comes some type of failures. And
for sure.
So this is just me looking at it from a bird's eye view, but you're creating a culture and your teams are massive now. Like it's big. You know, does a bad actor spoil some of that sometimes? And how do you deal with that? And you have to point a person out, but I can imagine like if someone's cancerous in that team, like it spreads.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's got to be a
that's
thing.
Everything, right?
Right, yeah. It's just like I'm thinking of it in a thing like because you're positive driven. Like that's what your company is about. Positive mindset, positive body image, positive results, like working hard. So if you have someone in there that is not preaching those things, like that could drain like part of it.
It can be draining. And I mean, especially if maybe it's someone you're pouring a lot of energy into.
Yeah. I
mean, that's hard. But I think that's where mindset comes in a lot. And for me this year, personal development has come in a lot. So that's actually one of our vital behaviors as a coach is personal development. And when I first started, again, I was like, I ain't got time to read a book. Like I'll make it my vision this year to read one book, like, which is hilarious. But this year I've been real big on that. And I really preach that with not even just my coaches, like even my customers, just I'm like in life.
Yes.
We should read some personal development books. You know, I think PD gets such a stigmatism too for some people who aren't entrepreneurs because they're like, oh, I'm not going to read PD. I was the person I was like, I don't need that. I'm doing the things.
Yeah, I'm in my own lane. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm in my own lane. I don't need that. But it's so good.
Yeah,
it's so powerful. And honestly, when we have those people that, because it happens, I mean, we all get in like a negative headspace. Like that's what makes us normal, you know? I think that's where like as leaders, and I know for sure me, myself, I'm like, that's where I have to have that PD in my back pocket to give that person, to give that woman, that coach, you know, whatever they might be going through. And it's a big thing for me on my team this year. And if any of my coaches are listening, they're laughing because they know like, when they come to me with that like that negativity and that I'm like, okay, so what PD are you reading right now? And they're like, oh, well, and I can tell you right now, 9 times out of 10, they're not. Mm-hmm. They're not making it a priority. And I started telling my coaches.
So you're challenging them.
Oh, I started telling my coaches
like that.
This year, I'm like, listen, you got 30 minutes you can give for this business or for your workout. Great. I want you to work out for 20 and I want you to read for 10. Because that's how much though, like that's how just like strong I believe about PD this year, like because it's just helped me in so many just like hard times. And I think it also I asked my friend one time, like I was like, man, someone asked me my superpower, I don't really even know what to say, because again, who takes time to stop and think about those things? Not me. I'm just like go 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 go. And she was like, oh my God, flipping the script, that's your superpower all day long. And I'm like, oh well, I didn't really think about that. But yeah, like 4.5 years ago, like I was flipping no scripts. You know, bad stuff was happening to me, and I'm like, oh, of course. I've got the worst luck. Like, of course this is going to happen to me, blah, blah, blah. Whereas now, today, I'm like, you know what? This is happening to me for a reason. For some reason, God needs this to be my story. He needs me to share about it so that I can show another woman or another person that they can walk the same path and beat it too. You know, again, it goes back to the whole, like, just supporting one another. And when you see someone beat something or, you know, they achieve something, clapping for them and realizing, like, man, they're just showing you that you can too. There's, you know, there's no difference in everyone. And so that's my big one. And honestly, I have to protect my peace a little bit too. You know, like if there's like too much negativity, maybe that's something that I'll just kind of like back away from a little bit or like that conversation.
I'm learning how to do that now.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you talked about like other people showing you that you can do it too and that nobody's really special, because that goes back to whenever we interviewed KT Scannell. She was Miss Louisiana this year. Mm-hmm. And she said the same thing. Like she sat in the chair and just said the exact same thing you said. She said, there's nothing special about me. Like if I can do this, you can do it too. That's
1,000% how I feel. Like anytime anyone asks me to do a call or to talk for them, like the first thing, it's like, I just want them to know, I'm like, listen, I just want you to know, like I am just a normal person that
you bring the same air as me.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's nothing, I don't have any superpower. Like, I work hard. I mean, I have a goal that I want to go and I just go for it. And I've learned that, I tell my team too, you talk about failures. I'm like, listen, if you're not missing goals in life, then you're setting your goals way too small.
Yeah.
We just talked about that.
Setting them too low.
They're way too low. Like, you should miss goals, but people, I set a goal. It's called Superstar. That's the top rank in our company. It's a big deal. And we set a goal. I forgot what the exact date was, but we missed it. But that Wednesday, so we get our rank advancements on Thursday. That Wednesday, I had messaged the girls that were pushing with me, and I was like, you know what? We're not going to wake up tomorrow a Superstar team. I said, but I don't even care. The fulfillment, the joy that I feel today of everything that we've done moving up to this point and the amount of people that we've helped moving, because like you wanted to help achieve this team goal, but really what you were doing was ripping that Band-Aid of fear and helping other people start their journey. It's like, that's the big thing of it. And so I think you can also miss goals and still feel fulfilled and successful. And again, if you're not missing goals,
I've told this story a couple of times, but it'll always ring true. It'd be a picture that I'll probably frame up at some point. So last year or this year, my daughter, we went to Las Vegas, and my daughter's a weightlifter, and she's poised in certain weight categories. She's the strongest 15 and under, and she went this year. She stepped up into a higher weight division, which makes her more competitive. And the girl that beat her, she beat her. My daughter came in second this year. And my daughter was on the second podium, and the girl that won was on the first podium, and the girl was on third. And they're on the stage, and there's thousands of people in this auditorium or in this convention center. And my daughter is on stage flexing, and the girl that won is crying. And I'll never forget that moment because my daughter reveled and just sat in. She was so proud of her accomplishment that day because she hit numbers she had never hit before on stage. And the girl that beat her almost bombed out. She only made 2 lifts of 6. My daughter went 6 for 6. And it just showed you the mindset. Like, my daughter won second. She didn't take gold. She took silver. But she's up there with the biggest smile, flexing. And this girl just had streaming of tears down her face because she wasn't happy. And, like, she was there's some backstory to it, but she was doing it for the wrong reasons. And it just shows you that, like.
And that example right there makes me think of a book that I read that I recommended to a lot of my team this year. I read it not too long ago. It's called The Gap and the Gain. Have y'all heard of it?
Yeah, I have heard of that.
Yeah, and it just talks about, like, when we focus on, so here's where you start and here's your goal. And in between where you start and your goal is this big gap, right? Well, if you get to the end of the month and you don't hit your goal, you like barely miss it. Well, if you focus on this gap of what you barely missed, your mindset's going to be a lot different than if you focus on the gain and how far you've come. And so that's been a big thing too that I've been trying to really talk to people about is like, just like that. Like, no, she didn't take first, but she was freaking proud because she was thinking of everything that she did do. Sure, she probably went in there and they all went in there wanting the gold, right? They all go in wanting first place. But she didn't take first, but she was still so dang proud because she was focusing on the gains that she had that day.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Love it. I know we have a good podcast whenever I don't want to stop. You know what I mean? Whenever I feel like there's still a whole lot more stuff to talk about. But we really try hard to not take up any more of your time than we need to. What are your channels? Where can we follow you? On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, all the stuff?
All the stuff. Again, so I'm very basic, just a normal girl. It's funny. My husband's got on to me a lot of times. He's like, you could be on different, what do you call those? Like
platforms.
Yeah, you could be on different platforms, reaching more people. And I'm like, man, I'm just trying to do good what I can do. And so I'm actually only on Instagram and Facebook. I know TikTok's the big thing. I'm like, one day I'll learn it. Because that's what I tell people too. It's really funny. It's like, this is all online, it's virtual, except for this year. We started doing a lot of community events because I wanted to bring people together. But I'm like, I'm like not very tech savvy. So again, I'm like, if you want to do
it's all
something,
good.
you can do it. You don't have to know all the ins and outs, like to be able to start a business or do a business. So
I really enjoyed our time in this room today with you.
Thanks for having me. I know I could talk forever too.
No,
so
no,
it could be
look,
bad.
we can keep this thing rolling.
could be bad.
No,
forever.
when you can, that's what he's saying. There's,
I hate stopping.
yeah, when you're in here and you're just brainstorming, talking about life, and it excites you because you're gonna walk out of here just like we walk out of here every day. We're gonna go,
Man, that was awesome.
man, that was awesome.
I don't think we've ever walked out here and been like, that sucked. You know, like
Well,
never. It's
it's
never
just like
happened.
you said too, though. It feels good to be in a room with like-minded people where everyone's just trying to grow. And
I challenge, I've challenged our listeners, and I'll challenge you, Tori, because I know you're about it because it's the life that you're leading, and Brendan as well. Like, get in front of more people and make them have those vulnerable conversations with you. Talk about what's hindering them in life and like what they've overcome and where they want to go. Because that's what's going to keep helping us build the communities that we want to build.
Oh, for sure.
All around us, and not even in health and wellness, just all around. But another banger, man. This is how it goes down.
Yeah, that's it. You got anything else you want to share with us, or where can people follow? I mean, just Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
Instagram at Tori Achord _. Super hard.
All right.
Really.
No website or anything.
No, again, I'm so basic.
Hey, it's
I'm
all
so,
good.
I'm
It tells
so-
you like how she's built this team, and
because it's organic.
she's like, no, I'm just on Facebook, and it's just Tori Achord _. So
I know. I'm over here
But
he's over here pointing out things. I'm like, okay, I know I need to be doing these things.
You don't have a YouTube channel, Tori?
No,
God, come on.
I know.
oh man,
No.
You know, but some people do. They have all that. That's why, like, I try to explain to people. I'm like, man, you just gotta be you gotta be willing to work hard and be real passionate about what you do. Like, I have a passion for just wanting to help others, like wanting to touch, even if it's just for a moment. You know, we talked a little bit earlier. Like, if I have someone that starts with me and they're like, oh well, you know, I'm sorry, this month I'm gonna do CrossFit. I'm cheering for them. Like, hey, whatever makes you happy, you know, go for it.
There's something I've been working on, and it's in its very infancy phase, and I'll talk about it because nobody else is going to do it anyway. But I want in South Louisiana to bring all genres of fitness together in like a platform for people to speak and hear what their program's about, called the Fitness Collective. Yeah. So I want to get some CrossFit, some lifters, some beach body, some runners, and then get people that are in that space and at higher levels for them to come in there and explain to the masses that want to listen a little bit more. So it's something I've been like building like a roadmap to how to get that done. So it's in the future, but it's just something I've been working on because
now you're speaking into existence.
Yeah. So everybody's in their own lane, right? And a lot of people don't like to step out. Like CrossFitters aren't going to go do Orange Theory, and Orange Theory isn't going to try to go do beach body. I mean, they might, but I'm saying as a whole, like put all these people in the same room because we all love the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's just
helping others.
It's just built a little different.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's all I got.
Nah, man, I love it. Love doing this. It's so much fun.
Thanks
I learn something
having
every time.
me.
Yeah,
no, thank
sure.
you for coming. Definitely appreciate you coming. Mm-hmm. It's been fun. That's it, guys. It's another episode of Hustle Makes It Happen, the podcast. Another absolute banger.
Yep.
Remember, until next time, keep your head down, keep your eye on the ball. Hustle makes it happen. But most importantly, have fun. Later.